This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Browne and Michael Uy.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Uy.
And I'm Morgan Browne.
And I'm the Podfather.
And we're here
We are.
again.
Yeah.
First of all,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to everyone that's listening right now because
Wow, that's
we've been getting
gratitude.
a lot of calls,
Yeah.
basically, and like posts and
Have you?
yeah,
Positive
social media
stuff.
posts.
All good stuff?
Just so you know, we see your posts. We see you tagging us in those posts.
Yeah,
so
totally.
post because we love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
We need it badly.
Yeah.
We needed the recognition.
we need self-gratification. Please.
Yeah. Our
No.
parents never.
They never told us they were proud of
never
us.
Told us they
They
were proud
never
of us.
told us they were proud of us.
So we need to come from outside.
Yeah. And it's nice to see that everyone's listening and
Totally.
sharing it and other people from different brokerages. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. And it's a weird, it's kind of funny because I'll meet someone sometimes for the first time, and it's like, I feel like I think they think like they feel like they know me already, and so like I'm using some of the old jokes that I've heard that joke. I'm like, I need more material.
It's that one-sided relationship. I've
Yeah.
heard other podcasters
Yes.
talk about this
Yeah.
where they're like, I meet somebody and they know everything about me and I don't know anything about them, and it's
Okay.
weird.
Yeah.
It's
That's what they
weird,
say.
right?
Yeah.
It's weird, but it's also just so like I had somebody come up to me like on the street
Okay.
and they were at an acting camp on the corner of Fraser and
Okay.
27th or something like that.
Cool.
And I was just strolling with Lenny. I was
Mhm.
going around the town and this woman came up to me and she goes, "You're Morgan Browne. I listen to your podcast."
Oh, cool.
And I go, "Who are you?" No, and I was like, "Oh yeah," because I had my mask off because we were walking outside. And yeah, it was great. We had a nice chat and she was an agent from KW just across the street.
Right.
And she just said, "Thanks so much for doing the podcast. I've been listening and learning from you and
Mhm.
Mike, and it was like a very nice moment." So that was cool, but I didn't know who the hell she was. I was like, "Who are you?"
You're like, get out of my face. I'm too important for you.
No, I will always.
And like, that's why I should wear my sunglasses around.
I'm in New York.
Yeah, I actually I just go in disguise everywhere now, actually. Yeah. So
You just
like,
hide?
Yeah.
You just hide?
I
Too
have-
much of a
You're
celebrity.
like, you're like Kim Kardashian at the Met.
Yeah,
You don't know what that means.
No, I have no idea.
Right over top.
The
Kim
Met.
Kardashian, she wore a full black, like a black tight outfit over
Okay.
her face and everything. Like
Really?
like everything was blacked out,
Mhm.
and she was just this black. And the whole thing was about American like politics, and I guess that was like one
What was
person
it?
dead
What was this,
again,
like-
or like one person forgotten, or something like that.
Oh, really? So that's what it symbolized.
I guess so, but
Mhm.
she didn't look as good as all the other people in cool rhinestones.
Yeah.
I was like,
Of course.
we're glam.
Yeah. It's interesting, like some of those, they're making it like a political statement,
Mhm.
hey? Like, it's like an award show where you're like, isn't it like they're,
Yeah, no.
An award
Met,
show or
the
something,
Met
or
is
no?
actually it's like a museum of interior design.
oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's like in New York, and it's a really big. It's like a big thing where they all show off all the designers, like elaborate
Ooh.
couture.
Okay, cool.
So it's cool. So they do it every year, and all the celebrities, the in people are only invited. So like you have to be like,
So you got to be
You gotta
with
be
it.
part of
You
the
got to be
group.
hip. You got to be cool.
yeah.
You gotta be pretty cool.
And
yeah.
people like me and my girlfriends will send photos to each other of what people are wearing,
Oh, really?
and be
Have
like,
you always been into fashion?
I've always been into fashion.
Yeah, even when you were a little kid?
Always.
Did you ever like make anything or like design anything?
Yes.
Or, yeah.
All my Halloween costumes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Halloween costumes were all like hand knit because I didn't know how to use like a sewing machine.
Wow.
So I actually like did all
Oh,
of the
really?
knits. You should see them. They were actually
Well,
really good.
What was the best one?
My bee outfit. I like know right away.
Oh, slutty bee.
Slutty bee.
Yeah.
Slutty
It was a
tab.
slutty bee. It was a slutty bee. It was and it was
How do you make a
awesome.
slutty bee? Isn't the body normally like
I know.
I
a
gotta
big
show you
circle?
this. I gotta show you this slutty bee outfit.
Okay.
It's so good.
I knew it.
But I was like so young. But anyways, it was fun. That was a little hobby,
Yeah.
Keep creative.
I've never been into, I obviously am not into fashion, but I think because we've been listening to like,
I want to see if I can find that slutty bee costume.
I was kidding about that, but I guess I predicted the future.
Well, I was like, it's college. So you're obviously a little bit of you're trying to get attention, if you know what I mean.
That's right. You're trying to
here
attract
it
the
is.
honey.
Oh,
Slutty bee.
And that's why, wow.
Slutty bee.
That's really nice.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
you
nice.
guys, whoever's listening to this, you're to watch. I'll post it on my Instagram so you guys can look at it and be like, "Oh yeah, that was my slutty bee costume. That was my best one." And I did some other good,
And
like
you made
Cleopatra.
that, you made that yourself?
I made that. I made my
Oh, wow.
Cleopatra one. I made my. I loved it. I loved, and even like I've always been like, if it doesn't fit, like a long dress or whatever it is, I've just took some scissors at it and I just went at it.
Really?
I was like, let's fix this. So that was that's always been, fashion's always been cool.
Yeah. I feel like it does your physical. Well, I was watching or listening to the Ryan Serhant stuff.
Yes.
So Ryan Serhant, we had him on our Pursue Growth
Webinar.
and Learning webinar. And so in preparation for that, I kind of listened to both of his books and I tried to follow him and stuff like that. And he's really into like getting dressed up and getting like, into the right kind of
in the mindset of like you're really putting your whole like little superhero outfit on.
Yeah. It's like the physiology of like, of trying to do something of high performance, which is kind of like
Do you
interesting.
feel like that? Do you feel like you have to like put on a suit to go to work?
Well, actually, I didn't it's funny. Like I hate picking clothes. I hate shopping. I just kind of dislike fashion, but I do notice that when I get in a suit that I actually am a bit more confident. I would say, I'm a bit more confident and people treat me with more, like normally I get treated with disrespect.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I do actually. And so like, there's a little bit more like,
Respect?
hey, yeah, this guy's, maybe not as stupid as we thought.
So you put it on, you're like, you feel confident. Yeah, because there's some guys, okay, first of all, Oakwyn, top tier suit wearers. Okay,
Yeah,
there's some
totally.
like suit guys, like I'm like, whoa, you're looking good today. And a lot of them get them tailored and they're so nice.
Wow.
But then there's the opposite agent that is way more comfortable in like, Lulu's and more of like a lifestyle brand, thing that still looks polished.
Totally.
But like good. And I think Oakwyn kind of has both. But
Do
I
you
think
feel different when you wear different things?
heels 100%. It's like you wearing a suit if you, because I'm short. So it makes me feel a little bit taller. So I don't feel like this, but I think it's like, or like makeup, like lipstick is like a big thing for me or that kind of thing. I think it's just like something to kind of put you in that headspace.
Right.
Right. That you're gonna like perform that day.
Totally.
It's like your performing outfit. That's what it is.
Yeah. I think, so there is something about, your physiology. And I think it's how like, sometimes I've noticed, because I've been trying to dress a little bit better. I've noticed that my shoulders are coming a little bit more back. My posture's a little bit better than it was.
Yeah,
like I'm normally like to hunch over. But so it's been pretty good. Yeah.
You're such a happy person in general, though. Like in general, you're like a happy. Would you call yourself like an optimistic over the pessimistic type person?
I think now I've learned, and I think we shared this in a previous podcast. I've learned to be more optimistic and have more of a positive outlook because I noticed from role modeling my kind of other top entrepreneurs and high performance people that they tended to have that kind of positive outlook. I think like inherently I have a little bit of a negative outlook.
Really?
Like maybe in my childhood and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I always thought it was
I'm like Lee?
I always thought I was a big loser.
You're a big loser.
Yeah, I was like part of the loser club.
You're my loser.
But you leaned into that, right? You have the magic cards,
You're all
Dungeons and
authentic.
Dragons and stuff.
That's what I said. I'm like, because we were talking about Ryan Serhant and he said, what is your and to the brand? And he goes, oh, like a funny dad. Like, and I'm like, you're actually not a fun, like people would think of it the other way where you're like fun. Like you're a fun person. So you like know all that like Dungeons and Dragons, like comics, like that's your persona is like people, the immediate thing is like, he knows how to have fun in a different way. As opposed to like the dad joke thingy, because you're terrible. I'm like, can you just stop, please?
It's a work in progress.
Right? It is a work in progress.
You're like the cool dad, Brayden. You're like the cool dad.
Thanks.
What was your your real estate?
I don't know.
What?
You tell me. What do you think?
Oh, this is time for your truth bomb.
Ooh, truth bomb. Yes.
So something that we learned from the Ryan Serhant
Truth bomb.
kind of. that seminar was like to do like a truth audit of like, okay, let's say you weren't around
Yeah.
and someone was talking about you. How would you get described? So
Yes.
okay, Brayden, how would you describe Morgan?
No.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great.
Morgan's crossing her arms.
She's, I mean, very, very bubbly, very happy, very enthusiastic,
Cool.
very hard worker. I mostly, I don't think I have anything bad to say about Morgan. I'd love to be able to just rip on her right now, but I don't think.
Oh, I love you. Tell me the truth, Mike.
Morgan Browne.
You know her better than
knows
I do.
But that's what you want. Like you want someone that doesn't know you
That's
so
true.
well.
That's true. Yeah.
That's because that's your brand. Supposedly that's your brand,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah. No, that's true. Okay.
I'm into that, Brandon.
Yeah.
Might drop something off for Christmas.
Yo.
I think so. Besides being the slutty bee,
Slutty bee. Actually, my nickname in high school was Honeybee.
Honeybee,
Yeah,
really?
because I was
Why?
sweet, but I knew how to sting
Oh.
people.
Wow.
No, the natives actually, speaking of the day today, but the natives they coined me Little Honeybee Brown. They called me that.
Honeybee Brown.
Yeah.
That's
Honeybee
That's a
Brown.
good one.
Isn't that funny?
That's like an R&B name.
It is. I was a
think.
hip hopper.
Yeah.
I was like in the 5 elements, big time.
Nice.
Remember I told you all about this?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
I would say if I was to describe Morgan and not use her name, I would say Morgan is a energetic and really a very strong personality, and she really instills a lot of confidence with herself and in other people. That's what I would say that.
Ooh,
Yeah, that's how I would say that
that's
you do.
cool.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think so.
Let's flip the script here.
Okay.
All right.
I'd say Michael Uy is a joking dad. No. Michael Uy. Okay. Michael is a very happy-go-lucky. I'd actually say you were happy-go-lucky, intelligent. I would say actually genius.
Ooh.
Genius is the word I've used on you a couple of times. That sees the positive in other people when they don't see it in themselves. That's how Michael is.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So much respect in this room right now.
There is.
I know.
Respect.
We're used to dissing each other all the
I
time.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe, it's your fault. No, it's
Yeah.
your fault. No. I think that's, you need people in your life that are going to like check, keep you in check, right? A little bit, and I think when we're going into our podcast today, we're going to be talking about some pretty strong topics.
Yeah, some really serious things, we thought we would bring up, the topic of mental health. And, obviously, I was reading an article just about kind of a lot of people's big struggles right now with their mental health, whether that's anxiety or depression or post-traumatic stress syndrome or a lot of stuff. So we thought we would kind of bring it up and talk a little bit more about it and kind of, how we experience it and what we've done for ourselves and what we've learned just through our journey as entrepreneurs, but also just, how we could potentially help, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially actually we're doing this podcast, we record them a little bit in advance and we're doing it on Truth and Reconciliation Day, right?
It's such a big day.
Yeah.
It's a new day
It's a new day,
it's our new Pro D Day in Canada. It gives us a quick second to reflect on what's happened in Canada.
Right. So for those of you that don't know what Truth and Reconciliation Day is Morgan?
It is a day for reflection on what has happened in our history in Canada, which is really tied into obviously the Aboriginal and Native people of Canada who have found this land.
Right.
And there was some tragedy that happened in Canada with the reservation and the
residential schools. Right.
I'm forgetting they call it residential schools.
Yeah.
And it was a horrific accident. It took a lot of people's lives. There was a lot of abuse, and people are still healing. And this is the way that Canada is going to never forget those moments that need a second to think into. I think a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of prayer today for those people, for the families.
Well, I think, I'm really, I'm really proud to be a Canadian and that we actually have leadership that, really puts this at the forefront, and it's a painful topic. It's a topic that not a lot of people like to talk about openly. And obviously, when we have history, we want to make sure that we don't repeat, really tragic things that have happened in the past. And so this is a chance for us to teach ourselves and our children and, our communities how we can do better. And also, what actually happened. A lot of us have probably read on the news about, children getting taken from their families, abused physically, emotionally, physically, and sexually abused as well. There's been many discoveries of just mass grave sites of children that have kind of, which is, thinking now that I have a daughter, like, I can't imagine someone taking her away from me, speaking trying to teach them a different language, renaming them, like renaming her,
going through all
that kind of, it just breaks my heart. And, and
this was not that far, like a long ago.
It's not that long ago.
That's a crazy thing about this whole thing, is that it happened. And I think it happened so recently, but I think this is going to be something that Canada and the people that, especially the families that went through it, are going to be healing for the rest of their lives with. So I think it's a great way for Canada to acknowledge and correct what has happened in the past, so that we can get better, hopefully.
Yeah,
and heal.
Yeah, I think this is a good way of kind of starting to have that conversation, and giving us a little bit of a breather, because everyone's so busy right now, everyone's busy doing things, and kind of, we sometimes would forget, to have deep conversations. I hope people are doing that on
and I think
like today.
It's a pro DJ for our kids too, right? Like, the kids aren't in school, and unless you're in private, if you're in private, you're in school. And they're going to be talking about this to your children, right? Like, you have to think about that. And I think I have a brother-in-law who is German, and obviously the Holocaust and everything. They mention that in all of their books. Like, it was like drilled into them quite a bit. And because of that, it's not that they feel it's their fault, but they feel that it's their duty to recorrect and be able to talk about that conversation. So I think that's great. I think it's a good way for
it's
for
a
Canada.
Method, and it's also a method of prevention. For, if you don't forget about it, you have a better chance of not letting something like that happen in the future, right? And if we were to continue to just sweep it under the rug, there's a way better chance that something like this could pop up and happen in the future. And that's why, it's nice that the new Pope, even though it's not perfect, but he's like actually, I think, the most progressive Pope that's ever
Did
ever
he end
been
up
about.
acknowledging it? I didn't know I don't know if he did or not.
So more than any other Pope would have ever, but he acknowledged it, but he's not, I think there's a lot of people trying to get him to come to Canada and physically be here to acknowledge it, but it hasn't happened yet. But I think he's acknowledged it verbally so far, and that's better
in the
than
Vatican.
Yeah,
I love
big.
the Vatican.
You've been to the Vatican,
yeah,
right?
it's just like, what? This is like another level of first of all, it's its own town.
Yeah.
It's its own like entity.
Country.
Right?
Country,
It's their own country.
It's a sovereign state,
It's stunning. I cried when I walked into the chapel. I cried. I cried.
Yeah, like I've only seen
so sad.
The sad bee.
Sad, sexy bee.
I know. Like, oh. But it was busy. It was like a tourist.
Yeah.
Like,
I've only
trap.
seen like kind of the opulence of, and the grandeur of, of the architecture and the art and stuff like that. But I haven't been there physically myself. But there's a book. I don't know if you guys have read it. Have you heard of Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl?
I've heard of that, but I have not read that. I have not read it.
So, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. It's about a gentleman who survived the Holocaust and basically kind of found meaning in a really horrific time
during that time.
during the Holocaust. And so, I think
Ooh,
There's
that's
always
a good book.
Yeah, it's a very, it's something that we'll discuss it a little bit today.
Yeah.
Moving on, but about meaning and significance and importance and things like that. But yeah, I think on that note, I hope you guys, if you guys will probably be listening to this, and it'll be after Truth and Reconciliation Day, so we've hoped that you guys have had a chance to do that. But up next, we're gonna dive into mental health.
Here we go.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Oakwyn podcast. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please rate us 5 stars on a review. Also, if you're an agent who are looking for another office or would like to know a little bit more about Oakwyn Realty, please visit oakwyn.com/join and enter into that message box pod 2021 to get a cool mystery swag piece and meet one of our leaders at Oakwyn. Thanks so much
looking
for
forward
listening
to
us.
seeing you guys.
Okay, welcome back, guys. We are talking about a serious topic today. We were just saying that this is a topic that we, I think
it's hard to be light and fancy free with this topic.
Fancy free is like,
but I think it's something that's really something that we should really talk about. I kind of doing the show, like Morgan and I doing the show notes for this topic. We were really alarmed. I actually was very alarmed with some of the statistics, the Canadian statistics when it comes to mental health. What you'll find is that, before 40, 1 in 2 people have suffered through mental health issue.
Illness.
It's one of the, it's the highest reason why people go on disability it's the number one reason why employees and staff go on disability, and it's a rising figure actually. So during
and 1 in 4 of Canadians really do struggle with this, whether it's anxiety or depression or PTSD, and that's nearly 10 million people in Canada. But also in just earlier news that, February to February, in 1 year, it's risen 5% just with COVID and what's happened.
Yeah. And this is just census data from, that we pulled up. So it's kind of, it's a rising, and it's a big problem.
Yeah. I think that we want to talk about, do you know a lot of people with mental illness yourself, Mike? Or
I've had some friends that have suffered through anxiety and depression and PTSD, and it's hard to emotionally see someone go through a lot of pain, and and it's just have you?
Yeah. My best friend is struggles with it daily. My family, my father-in-law has depression. He has no problem talking about it. I've had I've had those deep conversations about how to help it, whether it's medication or I think a lot of people have, I've been to a psych ward before in Vancouver with one of my other friends growing up. So I've seen it. I acknowledge it, and I think that stat is completely right. 1 in 4 people for sure, because it is around you, and a lot of people are not sharing it, which is the scary part. Because at least I'm around people that are acknowledge it, they are seeking help, and they're a step ahead. Where there are some people I know that even when I was a bartender at a restaurant when I was growing up, I was about 18 years old. One of the waitresses she was moderately, she was just a normal girl, a normal gal. And but she was struggling very hard with mental illness, and she took her life, and her niece and nephew found her. And I was 18 when that was all going on. So I've seen it, and I just wish she had an outlet to talk to somebody. So I have always kind of been that person to tell people to come to me if they need some help with it, because I know where to go, and who to talk to, because it's very serious. If you don't get to it soon, or right when you're acknowledging it, it can become extremely more it's just way more difficult to get through it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel I know a lot of children are struggling with that now. It feels like it's getting a little bit younger and younger. I have a good friend of mine who volunteers at a teenage hotline for, a helpline. I forget which one it is, but a helpline. And she, obviously confidentiality, she's not able to kind of share specifics, but she told me that, the lines are ringing off the hook all the time with people and they feel lonely and isolated. And I think specifically, there was just during this time of COVID a 4% rise in mental health issues in Canada, and I think a lot of it had to do with social isolation and being alone all the time and not having interactions at school or at the workplace. And it's really it's something that we want to kind of shine a light on, and it's okay to sometimes not be okay, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. I feel like it's even before we got in here, I was telling Mike that I went to go get Lenny's 4-month shot, and the nurses gave me did a typical questionnaire with a mom to check in to see how's mommy doing.
Yeah.
And it was all about postpartum depression.
Right.
And a number one thing is that when the mom is completely isolated with just the baby, that really does take a huge effect of postpartum. And she told me the top times that depression hits is between 4 to 6 months.
Right.
So just having those aids, and we're just so lucky to live in Canada where that is talked about, because I know there's other places in the world that, they don't even acknowledge it. They really don't. They don't even acknowledge it. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people in...
So what kind of questions were on the...
Well, one of the questions was, do you ever feel like there's overwhelmed with anxiety? Are you getting enough, when you go to sleep, are you going back to sleep? Or are you not falling asleep? There's all these points.
Right.
Have you ever felt like you never wanted to live, or had a, I wanted to hurt yourself, things like that. And it's there's 4 answers, kind of, sometimes, not at all, blah, blah, blah. And then they count each one of them. And if you're over a number, then you definitely have to seek some help.
Yeah. And
nurses will check in on you regularly to see if you're getting through it naturally. And yeah, that was some of the questions. And then they were I obviously, as you said, I'm very energetic and happy. They were like, you're insane. I was like, yeah, I'm fun. It's great. No, and I think I'm very lucky because my, it's about your support, I think I'd be very depressed if I didn't have such a good team on my Oakwyn side, on my resale side, on my home side. I never feel like I'm missing out because I have so many people for this moment. And I, even though I'm struggling,
you kind of built that around you, right? And
I did.
Very intentionally built that stuff around you. And there's a lot of, excuse me, things you can proactively do.
What can so tips to kind of go through that are proactively, help to kind of help your mental illness, your mental health, period. Mental health. So here are some tips.
Yeah. I think, we can talk about some different tips to kind of, to really help with your mental health. I think that, have you ever heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yes.
Before?
Yes.
So this is...
Didn't we learn that in...
It's university?
Psych
101.
Yeah, university. Yeah. I was like, that's a university... Yeah, that's so funny. The pyramid. It was a pyramid. I remember this.
You want to pull up that pyramid actually? Because it's a bit more helpful than...
And I'm like, I remember this.
Yeah. So I think... because I've had some incidences in the past where I struggled with my own mental health, and I seeked counselors and things like that to help to get through them. And something that really helped me was to really frame out I'm really a weirdo, so just to frame out kind of what
I wouldn't say weirdo. I would say OCD a bit.
Yeah. What actually, what your needs are, really doing a needs assessment, what's important to you, and for what makes people happy actually, and trying to understand that a little bit better and frame it out a little bit. So something that I learned about was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a bit of a pyramid, and it kind of goes over what people emotionally and kind of physically need. So do you want to, we can go over some of those things.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, if anyone has a second, go ahead and Google this because it's actually really, it's a way smarter to look at it as a pyramid. I remember, I'm like having flashbacks from college.
Those, were you in the Slutty Bee costume?
In my psych class.
In the psych class?
In my psych class.
When you were learning about this?
And I was like,
this looks like your stinger,
this is my stinger. This is what I'm going to model my stinger after.
Sure.
No, I think this is a very, psychological needs is your big base.
Yeah, the base is your physiological needs. So basically, if someone's struggling to survive, and basically food, water, shelter type of thing, that's the basics physiological need that everybody has. And if that's not taken care of, obviously people are feeling not so good about themselves. So that's kind of where it starts. So once you kind of feel like, you're past survival mode, then it goes into the next level.
Yeah.
Right?
Which these two are basic needs basic needs. And the second is your safety needs. And that's your security and your safety. So that's your feeling around your safety and your security of your internal self. And like, for instance, having a place to go and sleep every night, like a very basic need that you'll need to wake up and have something to eat the next day.
Right.
I know that I remember this in psychology. It was like safety is not like there's a lot of people that are in welfare that is their basic need is gone and it rattles them, right? And it becomes part of their identity, right? So that's the next phase. So of course, those are the two kind of basic needs. And then we go into...
Yeah. So I know a lot of people, and this is something that's good to kind of check in with yourself like I've had a friend who didn't feel safe at home, with her partner. And it was not, so that really wasn't taken care of it as a need and really brought her quite a bit of pain. And so she had to remove herself from that environment. And that was a really big thing for her to kind of move on to the next step and to try to achieve other things, which, the next is more psychological needs. So that's your basic needs of safety, security, food, water, shelter, warmth, heat, and rest. And then your psychological needs, which are, that after that stuff is taken care of, it's, belongingness and love, right? So, feeling like you're part of a community, and you have good relationships around you. Like Morgan mentioned, the people around her and her different kind of teams,
Couldn't do without them.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
I just had to take that in, that I couldn't do without them. I was like, yeah, couldn't do without them. This morning they called me and they were like, "What's up, Queen?" And I was like, "I'm here." I'm just
so
joking.
You're the Queen Bee.
Did they call you Queen? Damn it, you beat me to it.
This is so crazy. No, honestly,
I'm your loyal server bee.
you need your love.
Bee.
You
just
need your
here
love.
to make some money.
Yeah. I am never telling you guys anything anymore.
This is good.
Yeah.
So your belonging, your intimate relationship, your friendships, which is really important. And then there's your esteem needs, which is really the feeling of accomplishment, the prestige of yourself. Going back to my queen remark.
Right. And significance, right?
Significance.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of people get, so some people do get caught into this mode, where they're just craving that significance all the time. And, but it is important. It's a psychological need, for lots of people.
And then do you feel like you have all of those? Do you have all of these, Mike, now?
So not all the time. Sometimes I feel, there are times where I feel unsafe, like right now. No, I'm just kidding. I am an East man in Strathcona. So I'm kidding.
Just spoken like a true West Side boy. Yeah. What a West Side boy this guy.
Get back to
Carousel, you big bum. Get back there.
I feel like it's a good check-in because I feel like sometimes when you're down, you can, I've looked at this pyramid of needs and I'm like, hey, I'm missing this. Like, maybe I haven't, like my relationships aren't, feeling that I don't feel like I belong.
Yeah.
Or, maybe I don't feel significant in some ways, and kind of there are times I feel like for the most part I've been really blessed and lucky that I have had most of this all the time, but there's some times where I don't. How about you?
How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I feel like most of the time, same. I was going to say, like, there's times when I, if something lower down on the spectrum isn't being met, like I've got arthritis in my knees. If I'm having really bad arthritis flare-ups, then I can't walk properly. And then, like, how do you make yourself happy if you can't even walk around your house properly? But for the most part, like, pretty well. I've never really had too many problems with even like the top, like self-esteem, like that sort of stuff. Yeah, you go through moments where, maybe you
have those episodes, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mike has seen my episodes. But I'm really lucky I have a safe place to bring them. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I feel like after looking at this pyramid again, is like a lot of people don't feel the safety to express themselves at all when they're feeling down, or they don't feel welcome, or you know what I mean? And I think that helps that pyramid get stronger, right? But the basic and safety needs I've always had to, it's always been very strong, and thankfully, I think because of our families, right? I think that's who the basic needs is really based off of your home, right? And then your esteem and the belonging, I think that is really more of a social thing where like a lot of it's going to be about who you choose in your life. And the last is really just yourself.
Yeah. So it's self-actualization or, your self-fulfillment needs. So that's when you're kind of living in your life's purpose, when you're, acting congruently with your values and you're really contributing to others. And you're really, that's where you're kind of at typically when people are at their peak happiness is when they're in the right place. They're feeling safe and secure. They're feeling, love, and they're feeling, respect and feeling accomplished as well. And then, just living they're fulfilling their potential in a sense, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's really achieving that potential. And I think it's funny. I've asked a lot of people this lately, like, what's your purpose? And a lot of people do not, like, they get kind of scared to talk about it. They're a little bit in fear because it feels like they're not going to fulfill it. They get their self-esteem goes down a bit, but no one really, Oprah always says, it's like your one thing that you need to find to feel fulfillment. And I think that's so true.
What's your purpose?
I think it's like what you guys said about I think I'm there to light people up. I'm there to be the light for people's path or help people, I think I was raised in a very compassionate household where, acknowledging people that need the most need is really important, but also just like illuminating a path to a great future for other people and for my partners and for my team is to kind of lead and to demonstrate a certain type of, something. I don't know. What's your purpose?
To make money. No.
Yeah, he's on it.
No, I'm kidding.
Like,
it's not.
This is just, don't tell everyone this.
I'm kidding. No, I think, I feel that my purpose is to, I love serving people and I like taking care of people.
And teaching, you're very good at it.
I really enjoy, and I feel like that's my purpose is to really serve others. And it's weird. Like I've always enjoyed helping, just helping out. So even like when I pour someone water or pour someone coffee, I get like a weird thrill from it. It's kind of strange. And so I think, I was just made to.
Isn't that amazing? It's like, this is what Oprah says. It's like, it's what you make other people feel is your purpose. So what you're saying is really fulfilling to you, like pouring a cup of water. That is like a service to you.
Yeah, I noticed Braden dipped
really
his finger into my water while he was pouring it.
He picked his nose.
You saw that, eh?
He picked his nose and then put it in the thing.
Yeah, so like,
flavor crystal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to be, it's like you're saying that you have to be passionate about it, but I think people get overwhelmed with that. Like they get scared to say that it's their passion is their purpose. Like it's very funny. But
really, I feel like, I think people have been in this mode of not like there is a bit of like self-discovery when it comes to like what you want, what you're passionate about, what's your purpose. I think it requires a kind of a deep dive into your like your nucleus, into your heart, to decide what that is specifically. And then to try to kind of create a life where you're able to do that all the time, right? So,
I think that's, I knew that my purpose was to light people up. The second when it was funny, it's like you're saying about pouring the water. It's like my energy when I'm around people and they get really like jazzed and excited and pumped up. It's almost like it feeds me back. It's like, whoa. And so like even when we do our sales kickoffs and we do like a big event and there's tons of people there, I get even more bright. Yeah. It's really strange. So I think you gotta acknowledge the things that are making you happy. What's your purpose? I need to get to Braden.
Yeah. My purpose? I think my purpose is to give people a voice. Which is, I never really recognized that until kind of I was like doing my branding up for like my podcasting company. But even before, when I think back, I'm like, I was like a vocal producer. And so, I would get that kind of like that vibe that you're talking about, or that you're talking about, when I'd like record somebody and do a really good job of making their vocals sound really nice, and then play it back to them and see how that makes them feel. And that's when I would get really excited, is seeing them like get this emotional response because they've never heard themselves like that before. And like, that's, just giving people a voice. And I guess we're
all in the house of serving. That means that's cool. But I think it's a good part of your self-actualization is to find your purpose, find your things that make you excited and happy, that you feel really good about at the end of the day. Yeah.
So I think this is a good check-in point. If you're kind of feeling a bit, if you're struggling, you're feeling some things, like I've looked at this, when I felt a bit of struggle, I'm like, okay, well, I'm actually not, feeling like I belong right now, or I'm not feeling like I'm doing passionate, purposeful work, right now. I feel like there's an incongruency. And I think that you can kind of check in with yourself, because, I think that that's important to do. I don't want to like shit all over technology or anything like that, but I feel like a lot of this stuff, a lot of people's like mental health and stuff like that is getting like buried under the rug, and then people are just like YouTubing and endlessly kind of like
they're constantly on
on and consuming social media and stuff like that, which is making it even worse, and instead of like really really targeting, hey, what's bothering me, and they're just kind of, because it's so easy to kind of delay solving that.
So you're saying that they want an instant solution, as opposed to just like taking a moment to be silent.
I think so. Yeah. And like really assessing and, really facing the hard truth, I've struggled with that sometimes, I'd be not feeling very well, and I'd numb myself in some certain way by whether that's like,
TV show, or that could be drinking,
or that could be, eating fried chicken. That could be just kind of
make him happy.
But I'm not getting to the root of the problem and really trying to understand what the root of the problem is. And that requires some self-reflection. That requires some kind of, deep dive thinking. Right. And, and I think a lot of people don't spend time to do that. And I hope if you're listening to this and you are feeling those ways, that you'll do some of this yourself or with somebody that you really trust.
Yes,
right?
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Be with someone you really trust.
Who's your go-to? Like
probably Alicia, my best friend, and Kelly. Kelly, those two are like my left and right arm. They've known me since I was like a toddler and
before the
toddler teen. No, they were
also bees.
They were also there.
Okay.
Let me think. Alicia was definitely a vampire, because that's what she is. That's what she is.
Yeah.
She's a vampire. No, she's like total. No, like what's her name?
She is very
Sarah.
pale.
Yeah, she is. And Kelly was definitely like a basketball star or something, like probably Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
No, I think we've I've those are like my two. And then I probably come to you and Arlene. Like those are my safety nets to feel comfortable. But I'm very lucky because I think I've, this is like we're talking about mental illness. There are things that we're going to talk about that you can do to get yourself out of it. But then there is a point where there is an actual chemical imbalance in your mind that needs to be sought. And I want to professional help. Yeah. I think that we need to really divide that because I'm really lucky. I don't have any mental illness. And not, I don't have any, but I do have obviously some things that are like esteem based and all that kind of stuff. But like, I really can pull out of things quickly. Like I'm a solution based person. So whenever I'm feeling down, which if I'm feeling down, you'll probably see me at Nook. Like I'm at Nook.
Yeah.
And I'm eating a rigatoni pasta with a big glass of red wine.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm writing all the things that I'm grateful for. Because I think for me, it's a contrast thing. Like it's like I don't have enough time to get to my team, but then I need to write, I'm so grateful I have a team. Or, you know what I mean? Like I gotta, that's for me. But I also have friends and people in my life, friends and people in my sphere that they literally cannot get themselves out of bed. So it's a different thing where I've witnessed that, and
so have I.
It's scary. It's scary. It's scary, and I've had to go through some pretty hard times with them. So it is those two things people need to realize. If you can do some of these things that we're going to talk about, mental illness or mental health, great. But if not, please seek help. Like there are those hotlines Mike was saying, which maybe we'll add to the podcast show notes.
To the show notes. Yeah. If you are struggling to reach out, to get, professional help, because I feel like Morgan's right. There's a line that and that's when a professional needs to step in for sure. And really, can help in a different way. Yeah.
Right? Different way.
Than
different
kind
way.
Of behaviors and physiology and stuff like that for sure. I think what we'll do is we're going to part two this.
Let's part two this.
Because I think this is...
this week could be lighter. This is all bright.
This is some...
What can we do to be happy?
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah, because I think, this is such an important topic. I think we'll make it a two-parter. So I think on that note, guys, thanks so much for listening to the Oakwyn podcast. If you've enjoyed this podcast, give us a rating of 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to it on. I know it's a bit of a serious tone today, but I think it's a conversation that is necessary and necessary.
Yes.
But if you are thinking about making a change in your brokerage, if you're an experienced agent or you're a new agent that wants to learn more about Oakwyn, feel free to reach out to us at oakwyn.com/join and type in the message box pod 2021 and you'll be able to chat with one of our leaders and also get a free
mystery swag.
Yeah, cool piece of mystery swag. Okay, until next time,
Thanks
guys.
so much.
Yeah, part 2
Bye.
coming up.